My sister took my $1,200 dress from my closet without permission and turned it into her wedding dress. It was meant to be, she claimed. But the truth came out when I exposed her at the reception, and they had no idea. I'm Emma, 28, female. And my sister Victoria completely destroyed our relationship when she stole the dress. I'd been saving for months to buy and turned it into her wedding dress without even asking me, let me paint you a picture of what my family dynamic has been like my entire life. Because this dress situation, it's just the latest in a very long pattern that goes back to when we were kids. Victoria has always been the golden child. Always. She's 2 years younger than me, but somehow she's managed to get everything handed to her on a silver platter, while I've had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. And our parents, Sarah and Michael, have enabled this behavior for so long that Victoria genuinely believes the world owes her everything she wants. Let me give you some examples so you understand just how deep this goes. When we were applying for college, Victoria got her entire tuition paid for by our parents. For years at a prestigious private university, room and board, spending money, the works. They said she showed such promise and they wanted to invest in her future. When it was my turn 2 years earlier, they told me I needed to learn the value of hard work and took out student loans in my name. I graduated with $45,000 in debt while Victoria graduated, debt-free with a brand new car as a graduation gift. Then there was the car situation that happened 3 years ago. I had just bought my first car after saving 4 months, a reliable used Honda that I absolutely loved. Victoria's car broke down, and she asked to borrow mine for just a few days while she figured out her situation. Those few days turned into 6 months. Every time I asked for it back, she had some excuse. She needed it for work, she had a date, she was helping mom with errands. And every time I complained to our parents, they told me I was being selfish. And that family helps family. The worst part? When Victoria finally got her own car, a brand new one that our parents co-signed for, she had put 15,000 miles on mine, and there was a huge scratch down the passenger side that she swore was already there. She never apologized, never offered to pay for the damage. And our parents acted like I should be grateful she took good care of it. But the business idea incident was what really opened my eyes to how manipulative Victoria could be. Last Christmas, I had been working on a concept for a freelance graphic design platform specifically for small businesses. I'd spent months researching, creating mock-ups, writing business plans. I was excited about it and made the mistake of sharing my ideas during a family dinner. 2 weeks later, at Mom's birthday party, Victoria stood up and announced that she had this amazing entrepreneurial idea and proceeded to describe my entire business concept, word for word, as if it was something she'd come up with. When I tried to speak up, she talked over me, saying she'd been developing this concept for months. Our parents were so proud of her innovative thinking and business acumen. When I confronted her privately later, she shrugged and said, "Ideas are just ideas until someone actually does something with them. I have the connections to make it happen. You don't." She never did anything with the idea, by the way. She just wanted the praise. So when Victoria got engaged to Brandon 6 months ago, I knew I needed to be careful. The wedding planning process was going to bring out the absolute worst in her entitlement. And I was determined not to let her drag me into her drama. I was actually trying to be supportive. I helped her with vendor research, gave her honest feedback on venue options. Even designed her save-the-date cards for free because I wanted to contribute something meaningful to her special day. I thought maybe this time would be different. Maybe getting married would make her more mature, more considerate. I should have known better. The dress. Oh, this dress. Let me tell you about this dress because it's important you understand what this meant to me. I'm not someone who usually splurges on clothes. I'm practical. I shop sales. I make things last. But I have always had this one weakness for vintage fashion, particularly pieces from the 1960s. There's something about the craftsmanship, the attention to detail, the way those clothes were made to last generations. 3 months before Victoria's wedding. I was browsing this high-end vintage boutique downtown, just window shopping really, when I saw it. A 1960s cream silk cocktail dress with the most intricate beadwork I'd ever seen. Hand-sewn pearls and tiny crystals in an Art Deco pattern that caught the light like something from a fairy tale. The cut was absolutely perfect, fitted through the bodice with a flowing aligned skirt that hit just below the knee. The price tag made me gasp. $1,200 for a dress. I had never spent that much money on a single piece of clothing in my entire life, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I went back 3 times just to look at it, to touch the fabric, to imagine myself wearing it. The boutique owner, Mrs. Chen, was this lovely, elderly woman who told me the dress had come from the estate of a Hollywood costume designer. It was a one-of-a-kind piece, she said, and she'd been waiting for the right person to come along who would truly appreciate it. I started picking up extra freelance projects. I cut my grocery budget, stopped buying coffee out, canceled my streaming subscriptions. For 2 months, every single dollar I could spare went into my dress fund. Jake, my boyfriend, thought I was crazy, but he saw how much it meant to me and never complained when I suggested staying in instead of going out to dinner. When I finally had enough saved up, I was so excited I was practically vibrating. I called in sick to work and went to the boutique first thing in the morning. Mrs. Chen had been keeping it aside for me. And when I tried it on, it fit like it had been made specifically for my body. "This dress was meant for you," Mrs. Chen said as she rang up the purchase. And I believed her. I planned to wear it to Victoria's wedding. It was perfect. Elegant enough for the formal evening ceremony, but not so attention-grabbing that it would upstage the bride. The cream color was just different enough from white that there would be no confusion. And the vintage style would complement the classic, romantic theme Victoria had chosen for her wedding. I felt like the most beautiful version of myself when I wore it. I had never owned anything so exquisite, and every time I looked at it hanging in my closet, I felt this little thrill of pride. I had worked for this. I had saved for this. I had chosen something special that reflected who I was, and I was going to wear it to celebrate my sister's marriage for exactly 3 weeks. That dress hanging in my closet was a source of pure joy. I should have known something was wrong when Victoria asked to come over just to hang out on a random Tuesday afternoon. Victoria doesn't just hang out. Victoria has agenda items and objectives and usually needs something. But I was working from home that day, taking a break between client projects, and I thought maybe she genuinely wanted to spend some sister time together. We'd been getting along better lately with all the wedding planning, and I was optimistic that maybe we were finally growing into a healthier relationship. She brought coffee and pastries from this expensive bakery downtown, which should have been my second red flag because Victoria doesn't spend money on other people unless she wants something big. We sat on my couch chatting about the wedding details, the final head count, the seating arrangements, last-minute vendor confirmations. Everything seemed normal until she asked if she could use my bathroom. "Of course," I said, not thinking anything of it. She was gone for what felt like a really long time. Long enough that I started to wonder if everything was okay. Then I heard my bedroom door close, and I figured she must have gotten turned around. My apartment layout can be confusing if you're not familiar with it. When she came back to the living room, she seemed different. Excited in this barely contained way, like she was holding back news she was dying to share. "Emma," she said, settling back onto the couch with this weird smile. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to promise you won't be mad." My stomach dropped immediately. Nothing good has ever followed those words in the history of sibling relationships. "What did you do, Victoria?" "Okay, so you know how I've been stressing about my wedding dress. How nothing has felt quite right." Nodded slowly. Victoria had been complaining for months about her dress. She'd bought one, returned it, bought another one, returned that one too. As of last week, she still hadn't settled on anything, which had been causing her major anxiety because the wedding was only 2 weeks away. Well, she continued, and I swear her eyes were practically glowing. I found the perfect dress. And it's so perfect. It's like fate. Like the universe was telling me this was meant to be. A cold dread started spreading through my chest. Victoria, I said very carefully. What are you talking about? Your vintage dress? She exclaimed, clapping. Her hands together like she'd just announced she'd won the lottery. The cream one with all the beautiful beadwork. Emma, it's absolutely perfect for a wedding. It's exactly the vintage, romantic, timeless look I've been trying to achieve. I stared at her. My dress? I tried it on, and it's like it was made for me. Well, it needed a few adjustments, but nothing major. The seamstress said it would be easy to modify. You, tried on my dress. I know. I should have asked first, but I wanted to surprise you. I was hoping you'd be excited that I found something perfect, and that you'd want to be part of making my wedding day special. The room was spinning. Victoria, that's my dress. I bought that dress to wear to your wedding. But Emma, think about it. Isn't it better that the dress gets to be the star of the show? Isn't it more meaningful for it to be the wedding dress rather than just another guest outfit? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You took my dress from my closet without asking, tried it on, and took it to a seamstress. I borrowed it, she corrected. And I'm not keeping it forever. After the wedding, you can have it back. If you've had it permanently altered to fit you. Victoria waved her hand dismissively. The changes are minimal. Little taken in here, hemmed there. You'll probably like the way it fits even better afterward. I stood up from the couch because I needed to move, needed to do something with the energy that was building up inside me. Victoria, I saved 4 months to buy that dress. I've been planning to wear it to your wedding for weeks, and now you can wear something else. Emma, this is so much better. This way, the dress gets to be part of something really special and meaningful. It gets to be part of my wedding day forever. What about what I want? What about the fact that it's my dress that I bought with my own money? Victoria's expression shifted, and I recognized the look that was settling over her face. It was the same expression she'd worn when our parents sided with her about the car, when she took credit for my business idea. It was her "I'm going to get what I want, and you're being unreasonable" for objecting face. Emma, I need you to think about what's really important here. This is my wedding, my one special day. Are you really going to let a dress come between us? What happened next was honestly impressive in its thoroughness. Victoria didn't just steal my dress, she launched a full-scale manipulation campaign to make me feel crazy for wanting it back. The first phase was the family guilt trip. Within 24 hours of our conversation, I was getting calls and texts from our parents. Mom called first, using her disappointed voice that she'd perfected when we were teenagers. Emma, honey, Victoria told me about the dress situation. I'm really surprised by your reaction to this. My reaction? I said. Mom, she took my dress without asking and had it altered. How is that okay? She's trying to include you in her special day. She wants your beautiful dress to be part of her wedding memories. I think that's actually very sweet. She could have asked me first. Would you have said yes if she'd asked? The question caught me off guard because I honestly didn't know. Maybe I would have if she'd approached it differently. She'd explained how much she loved it and asked if I'd be willing to let her borrow it. Maybe we could have worked something out, but that wasn't what happened. She went into my bedroom without permission, took something that belonged to me and made irreversible changes to it without consulting me at all. That's not the point, Mom. The point is that she didn't ask. Emma, sometimes you can be very rigid about things. This is your sister's wedding. Couldn't you be a little more flexible? After Mom came Dad with his "let's all just get along" approach. Emma, sweetheart, I know you're upset, but Victoria is really stressed about the wedding. Could you maybe just let this one go? For family harmony, Dad, if Victoria wanted family harmony, maybe she shouldn't have stolen from me. That's a strong word, Emma. She borrowed something, okay, and she's planning to give it back after she's altered it permanently. Can't you just wear something else to the wedding? You have lots of nice dresses. The thing is, I did have other dresses. That wasn't the point. The point was that this dress was special to me, that I had worked and saved for it, that I had chosen it specifically for this occasion. The point was that Victoria had taken something precious to me and treated it like it belonged to her. But trying to explain that to my parents was like trying to explain color to someone who's never had sight. They couldn't understand why I was making such a big deal about just a dress. Phase 2 of Victoria's campaign was even more insidious. She started telling people that I had gifted her the dress for her wedding. I found this out when Victoria's maid of honor, Jessica, called to thank me. "Emma, Victoria told me about the dress you gave her for the wedding." "That's so incredibly generous of you." She said it's vintage and absolutely stunning. My blood pressure shot through the roof. "I'm sorry, what? The vintage dress?" "Victoria said you surprised her with it as a wedding gift. She's been showing everyone pictures. It's absolutely gorgeous." I spent the next 2 hours calling other family members and family friends to see how widespread this lie had gotten. It was worse than I thought. Victoria had told everyone, cousins, aunts, uncles, family friends, even some of the vendors, that I had generously given her my dress. As a wedding present, when I confronted her about it, she acted like I was being ridiculous. "I mean, technically, you are giving it to me. For the wedding, not giving you anything. You took it." "Emma, people were asking about the dress, and I didn't want to get into the whole complicated story. It was easier to just say it was a gift." "You mean it was easier to lie?" I wasn't lying, I was simplifying. Now I was trapped. If I corrected people and told them the truth, I would look petty and vindictive for taking back a wedding gift. Victoria had backed me into a corner where any attempt to reclaim my property would make me look like the villain. Phase 3 was the emotional manipulation. And this was where Victoria really showed her expertise. She started crying every time the dress came up in conversation. Not just tearing up full, dramatic sobbing about how hurt she was that I didn't want to share in her happiness. How she'd always dreamed of us being closer as sisters. How she'd thought I'd be excited to be part of her special day in such a meaningful way. "I just wanted something beautiful that connected me to you," she said through tears during one particularly dramatic phone call. "I thought it would make our bond stronger, having your dress be part of my wedding. But if you want to be selfish about it, fine. I'll just wear something else and everyone will know that my own sister wouldn't help me on my wedding day." The worst part was that she was saying all of this to Jake when he answered my phone, painting me as this unreasonable, selfish person who was ruining her wedding over material possessions. When Jake handed me the phone, he had this confused look on his face. "Emma, maybe she has a point. It is just a dress and it is her wedding." Even my own boyfriend was starting to side with her. The final straw came 1 week before the wedding. When I went to Victoria's apartment to try to have one last rationale conversation about the dress, I had spent days preparing what I was going to say. I was going to be calm, reasonable, and solution-oriented. I was going to suggest compromises. Maybe she could wear the dress for the ceremony and I could wear it to the reception. Or maybe we could work out some kind of arrangement where I got to keep the dress but helped pay for her alterations to a different dress. I knocked on her door with a peace offering, her favorite takeout from this Thai place we both loved, and a genuine desire to find a way through this that would work for both of us. Victoria answered the door in my dress, not a version of my dress. It's not a dress that looked similar to my dress. My actual dress, altered and fitted to her body, with additional beadwork added to the neckline and extra crystals. Sewn throughout the skirt, she did a little spin when she saw the look on my face. "Do you like the modifications?" Brandon's mom knows this amazing seamstress who specializes in vintage pieces. She said the additional beadwork really makes it pop for photographs. I stared at her, speechless. The dress was beautiful, more beautiful than it had been when I bought it. But it was also completely, irreversibly changed. The neckline had been reshaped, the waist taken in, the skirt shortened by several inches. Additional beadwork in a slightly different pattern had been added throughout, creating a fuller, more dramatic effect. This wasn't my dress anymore. This was Victoria's dress that used to be my dress. How much of the original dress is left? I asked quietly. Oh, tons of it. The main structure is exactly the same. The seamstress just enhanced it a little. Enhanced it, right? And honestly, Emma, it looks so much better now. You should be proud. Your dress is going to be absolutely stunning in the wedding photos. That's when I realized that Victoria genuinely believed she had done nothing wrong. In her mind, she had improved my dress, and I should be grateful. She couldn't understand why I was upset about her taking something that belonged to me and making it permanently hers. Victoria, I said very carefully, I want you to understand something. That dress cost me $1,200. I saved for 2 months to buy it. I bought it specifically to wear to your wedding. You took it from my closet without asking, had it permanently altered, and then lied to our entire family about how you got it. Victoria's face hardened. And I want you to understand something, Emma. This is my wedding, my one special day. The fact that you're trying to take that away from me over a piece of fabric says a lot about what kind of person you are. I kind of person I am. It's the kind of person who puts material things over family. The kind of person who can't be happy for her sister's success. It's the kind of person who always has to make everything about herself. I felt something break inside me. Not just my heart, but something deeper. Some fundamental belief I'd been holding. Onto that, Victoria was still, underneath everything, a good person who cared about me. You know what, Victoria? You're right. This does say a lot about what kind of person I am. I'm the kind of person who works hard for what I have and expects other people to respect that. I'm the kind of person who believes that taking things without permission is stealing, even when you do it to family. And I'm the kind of person who's finally tired of letting you walk all over me. I turned to leave, but Victoria called after me. Emma, wait, don't leave like this. We can work this out. I turned back around. How? How exactly do we work this out? The dress is already altered. You've already told everyone it was a gift. You've already made me look like the villain for wanting my own property back. How exactly do we work this out? Victoria was quiet for a long moment, and for just a second. I thought maybe she was finally understanding how much she had hurt me. Then she said, you could just be happy for me. I walked out and didn't look back. I almost didn't go to the wedding. Jake and I had several heated discussions about it, with him arguing that skipping my sister's wedding would be something I'd regret forever, and me arguing that attending my sister's wedding while she wore my stolen dress would be something I'd regret forever in the end. I decided to go, but not for the reasons Jake thought I should. I went because I was done letting Victoria control the narrative. I was done being painted as the unreasonable sister who couldn't be happy for her family. I was done letting her get away with treating me like my feelings, my belongings, and my boundaries didn't matter. I bought a new dress for the occasion, a simple black cocktail dress that cost me $200 I couldn't really afford, since I'd just spent my entire clothing budget on the dress that was now serving as my sister's wedding gown. But I wanted to look good. I wanted to look confident and put together and completely unbothered by Victoria's manipulation. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. I'll give her that. Victoria had excellent taste when she wasn't stealing other people's things. The venue was elegant, the flowers were stunning, and the music was perfect. And Victoria looked absolutely radiant in my dress. I sat in the third row with Jake, watching my sister marry Brandon while wearing the dress I had saved for months to buy. Altered, beyond recognition and covered in additional beadwork that probably cost more than my rent payment. Every time someone complimented her on how beautiful she looked, how perfect her dress was, how radiant she appeared, I felt a little piece of my soul die. But I smiled and nodded and played the part of the supportive sister because I was saving my energy for the reception. The reception was where Victoria had scheduled speeches. The maid of honor would speak, then the best man, then the father of the bride, and finally, Victoria had asked if I wanted to say something as well. I had told her weeks ago that I would love to give a speech about our sisterhood and how happy I was for her new marriage. I had not, however, told her what I was planning to say. When the time came for my speech, I stood up with my champagne glass and my carefully prepared notes, looking out at the 150 wedding guests who had been told for weeks that I had generously gifted my sister the dress she was wearing. Good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Emma, Victoria's older sister. Polite applause, smiling faces, the warm glow of wedding reception lighting. I've been asked to say a few words about Victoria and Brandon and about the bond between sisters, and I'm honored to do that. But first, I want to tell you a story about the beautiful dress Victoria is wearing tonight. I saw Victoria's face change immediately. The color drained from her cheeks, and she started shaking her head slightly, but it was too late. I was already talking. 3 months ago, I fell in love with a vintage 1960s dress in a boutique downtown. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, but it cost $1,200 more than I'd ever spent on clothing in my life. So I worked extra freelance projects, cut my budget, and saved every penny for 2 months until I could afford to buy it. The room was very quiet now. I could see family members starting to look confused, starting to piece together what I was saying. I bought that dress specifically to wear to Victoria's wedding tonight. I was so excited to celebrate her marriage while wearing something that made me feel beautiful and special. Victoria was making frantic cutting motions with her hand, but I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at our parents, at the relatives who had called to lecture me about being selfish, at the friends who had thanked me for my generous gift. 2 weeks ago, Victoria went into my bedroom without my permission, took the dress from my closet, and had it altered to fit her as her wedding dress. She didn't ask if she could borrow it. She didn't discuss it with me beforehand. She simply took something that belonged to me and made it permanently hers. You could have heard a pin drop. Brandon was staring at Victoria with his mouth open. Victoria was crying, but not the beautiful, graceful crying she'd been doing for weeks. This was the ugly crying of someone who had been caught. When I confronted her about taking my dress, Victoria told everyone that I had gifted it to her as a wedding present. She let all of you thank me for my generosity, while she knew perfectly well that she had stolen it from me. Mom was making frantic hand gestures, trying to get me to stop talking, but I wasn't done. Now I know what some of you are thinking. It's her wedding day. It's just a dress. Family is more important than material possessions. Okay, and you're right about that last part. Family is important, which is why I'm so disappointed that my sister thought it was acceptable to steal from me, lie to all of you, and then paint me as selfish when I objected to being robbed. I raised my champagne glass, so here's to Victoria and Brandon. May your marriage be built on more honesty and respect than Victoria showed me when she decided my belongings were hers for the taking. And Victoria, the dress does look beautiful on you. I hope it was worth destroying our relationship over. I drained my champagne glass, set it down on the table, and walked out of the reception hall with Jake, scrambling to follow behind me. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. By the time Jake and I got to the parking lot, my phone was already buzzing with angry texts from family members. Half of them were furious with me for ruining Victoria's special day, and the other half were demanding to know if what I'd said was true. Victoria's maid of honor called to yell at me for humiliating the bride at her own wedding. Several cousins texted to say they couldn't believe I would be so vindictive and attention-seeking. Mom left me a voicemail that was mostly just her sobbing about how I had destroyed the family. But then something interesting started happening. Aunt Linda, my dad's sister, called to tell me she had always suspected that Victoria was manipulative and was proud of me for finally standing up to her. My cousin Rachel texted to say that she'd never liked how Victoria treated me and was glad someone had finally called her out publicly. Even Mrs. Patterson, my elderly neighbor who had been at the wedding because she'd known our family for years, stopped by my apartment the next day to tell me that what I'd done took courage. Most surprisingly, Brandon's sister Kate reached out. to me through Facebook to say that she had witnessed Victoria being rude to service workers during the wedding planning process and had been concerned about how Victoria treated people who couldn't benefit her. It turned out that a lot of people had noticed Victoria's behavior over the years, but no one had ever said anything because it wasn't their place or family drama is complicated. Or they didn't want to cause problems at family gatherings. My speech had given people permission to acknowledge what they'd been seeing all along. Victoria, predictably, played the victim. She posted on social media about how her own sister had tried to ruin her wedding day out of jealousy and spite. She told anyone who would listen that I had always been bitter about her success and had been looking for a way to hurt her. But the thing is, when you've spent years manipulating people and taking advantage of their kindness, eventually your credibility runs out. People started questioning other things Victoria had done. Other times she had bent the truth to make herself look better. Mom and Dad tried to force a reconciliation. They invited both Victoria and me to Sunday dinner 2 weeks after the wedding, planning some kind of intervention where we would talk through our differences and remember what's really important. I declined the invitation. Emma, Dad said when he called to try to convince me to come, Victoria is your sister. Family is forever. You're right, Dad. Family is forever, which is why it's so important that family members treat each other with respect and honesty. Victoria has shown me repeatedly that she doesn't believe I deserve either of those things. She made a mistake. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Dad. This was a choice, a series of choices. She chose to go into my bedroom without permission. She chose to take my dress. She chose to have it altered without consulting me. She chose to lie to the entire family about how she got it. She chose to manipulate everyone into thinking I was being unreasonable for objecting to being stolen. Those weren't mistakes. Those were deliberate actions that showed exactly how little she respects me. 3 months later, I still haven't spoken to Victoria. She's sent me a few texts, mostly variations of, "I'm sorry you feel hurt, but I don't think I did anything wrong, but nothing that resembles an actual apology or acknowledgement of what she did." Mom and Dad have slowly started to come around. I think they're beginning to understand that this wasn't about a dress. It was about a pattern of behavior that they had been enabling for years. We're not back to normal yet, but we're talking, and they're making an effort to treat me with more consideration. Jake and I are stronger than ever. Watching him support me through this whole situation, even when it was uncomfortable and messy, showed me what real partnership looks like. And I bought myself another dress. Not a vintage one this time. A beautiful new dress that no one can take from me because no one else even knows about it. I wore it to my friend Sarah's wedding last month, and I felt gorgeous and confident and completely authentically myself. I learned something important through all of this. I learned that standing up for yourself isn't always pretty or comfortable or easy. Sometimes it means making a scene. Sometimes it means disappointing people who want you to keep the peace at your own expense. Sometimes it means choosing your own dignity over other people's comfort. But it also means looking at yourself in the mirror and knowing that you didn't let someone walk all over you. It means teaching people how you expect to be treated. Means refusing to participate in your own mistreatment just because it's easier for everyone else. Victoria may have gotten to wear my dress to her wedding, but I got something more valuable. I got my self-respect back. And to anyone listening to this story who has a Victoria in their own life, a person who takes and takes and takes, while convincing everyone around them that you're selfish for objecting, I want you to know that you deserve better. You deserve to be treated with respect. You deserve to have your boundaries honored. And you deserve to stand up for yourself even when it's hard. Even when people tell you you're being unreasonable. Even when it makes other people uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, the only person who has to live with your choices is you. After listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories. We are all human. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon. Dash.